You know, in these workshop videos, I get a lot of comments. Well, that's a lie. I get some comments on the video and the stuff that's in it, and I've had several comments on this thing, mostly positive, but by far the majority of the comments and questions are about this. And the last question I got was, does it leave lines? Well, I guess I'd have to say yes, it does leave lines, but I've always only used a combination of 80 grit and 120 grit. But I do have some 150 and some 220. And what I want to do is I'm going to put it on and see how it works. And I haven't used it yet. This is going to be new to me too. And we'll just see. Does that leave lines? Would I be able to take something off of the machine and finish it right away without having to use the orbital sander? Well, we'll see. I'm going to give it a try. Well, this is going to be kind of interesting. I've been wanting to do this for a couple of years. Don't know why it took me so long to do it. Now this is my oldest paper. This is the paper that was on the machine when I first got it. And I use this whenever I'm going to sand down anything that has a lot of glue in it. Now these rolls are in pretty bad shape, and I made the mistake of trying to use a wire brush to clean them up while the machine was running. And I also used a spike to try and chip off some of the glue in the worst places. And then where that happened, the little grooves were formed. And in other words, the sandpaper was, the grit was removed. And so naturally, where this groove will be, there'll be a raised hump on the finished product. So yeah, I'm getting lines, but a lot of them are my own fault. So anyway, we'll put on some better paper here. We'll start out with a new 80 grit and a new 120 grit, and then I'll change it. I'll put on 150 and 220. Okay, I've moved my Christmas candy bowls out of the way, and to appease the safety conscious, you know, when you only do this about once every 2 months, it's kind of hard to remember which way the releases go. Well, at least I didn't damage the rollers while I was doing that spike thing. That was pretty stupid on my part. But as it turned out, the only thing I damaged was the sandpaper. And it was pretty well shot anyway. In fact, it was shot. Now, I've made a slight change in plans. This is actually used. This is what I took off just before I put back on the paper that I just took off of there. And this is in good shape. It's almost as new. Now I know I did say that I was going to put new paper on, but this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is as good as new. So this is the 80 grit. It'll go on here. I'll do that first. Okay, I know the guys at General Tools are probably shaking their heads, saying, why is he having so much trouble with this thing? But I got arthritis here, sorry. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Usually this goes better than this, but because I got the camera on, it's going to be looking really awkward. Now this is the end here that you definitely don't want to come loose when it's running. If this end came loose, all it's going to do is just flop around. This end comes loose, it's going to wind up there in reverse, possibly damage the drums. I know I've seen where some people actually take fiberglass tape and they'll put it around the very end just to make sure that it's not going to come off. But then of course you have to be careful that you're not going to pass any wood under it that's going to have the tape there. You'll have a workshop full of smoke real fast. Well, we'll see if this one goes any better. Now I have to tell you, this is not a reenactment. Maybe I should do reenactments. It'd make it look like I know what I'm doing. I think I got it. Well, I gave it a second look and actually I don't got it. You notice where that little loop is right there? Well, that should be more tucked around in underneath here. It shouldn't be loose like that. So I'm going to just see if I can't get that in so that it's going to be tighter. Well, I'm going to have to redo this one. There, now you can see it's nice and tight up against the leading edge of this slot. Now I quite well imagine that there's people thinking, those belts don't look like they were used. Well, they were, but I cleaned it up with this thing. I think they call it a belt eraser. I got a spare here. I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to having to use it because this one here lasted pretty good. Canadian Woodwork will sell these things to you, and they work just great.